everyone says you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. Did anybody say like, hey, I don't know about this?
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, not 100 times. I've heard that thousands of times.
Most influential people in the sport talking about the sport globally. This week on Big Noon Conversations, I talk with the new head football coach at the University of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer, brand new head coach, University of Alabama. Thanks for joining us, man.
This is great. Great to have you here.
It's good to be here. First things first, before we get to the question I've asked everybody, I was here last year talking with Coach. He offered me a job. So is that offer still on the table, or do I need to talk with him about that?
You know, I feel like there's always a reason why he did things, and so there must have been a reason for that too. So I'm going to put my trust in him on that one. So yeah, sure.
Oh man, that's it was fun though, and I'm excited for you. I know you haven't had a chance to coach the fall yet, but in your short time here, what's been the best part of being the head coach at Alabama?
I mean, it always starts with our players, and they've just been amazing. They've embraced everything we've put in front of them. I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of the way they kind of weathered the storms early, really continued to push through, stuck together. And, you know, I think the other piece is just the excitement around the program that just exists here at Alabama. And so it's fun being a part of that. You know, the season's coming on fast, and so, you know, the excitement continues to grow. But got my family here now, and so, you know, that's a little bit more of a routine and all that. Really enjoying it. The staff's doing a great job as well.
Your path is unique, you know. I mean, Sioux Falls, I sat with you at Indiana and covered some of your teams when you were the offensive coordinator at Indiana. You go to Fresno, obviously your success at Washington. Let me go back to that time. You know, the last time we sat together was when you were a coordinator at Indiana with a young quarterback named Michael Penix that no one knew anything about, you know? And if I told that guy that day, hey, in 5 years, you're going to take over for Nick Saban at the University of Alabama, what would you have said?
I would have been really surprised, you know, that obviously things worked out in a special way. But I'd also know that anything is possible. And it really wouldn't have been about reaching that goal if you'd have told me if you do this, this, and this. It'd have been just about pouring everything into the moments you're in at that time. So yeah, it would have been a little bit crazy if you'd have said that. But I also know that anything's possible, and I learned that way back being at the University of Sioux Falls, where a place like that really had no business at one point winning national championships, even at the small college level, and doing that and happening over and over and over again there. And so anything's possible. You know, I'm just, you know, I am very blessed to certainly be in this spot, and a lot of great things have fallen into place. I've been around a lot of great people.
I imagine if you set out, if we're sitting there and that was your goal that day, and that's at the forefront of your mind, and you're not where your feet are, to take an old, you know, Coach Sabanism, if you will, then this probably doesn't work out. But if you're just pouring into the now every single day, trying to make Indiana's offense the best it can possibly be on that Tuesday, or whatever day it may be, same with Fresno, same with Sioux Falls, same with Washington, this doesn't happen.
I completely agree. I think when you start pressing and, you know, you see this players, but especially coaches throughout the 20 plus years I've been doing this, when they start thinking about what's next and how their career path right now isn't in line with other people they compare themselves to, or it's gone the wrong way for a year or two, you know, that stress level just, you know, they're not enjoying the job. And when you're enjoying the job, that's when you do your best work.
Sure.
And, you know, just things fall into place because, you know, your best work is going to lead to success. So I completely agree with that comment.
How about the craziness of post national championship game? So you have an incredible season at Washington, incredible season, you know, culminating in 2 undefeated teams facing off in the I mean, it was a great game, you know, and they outlasted you guys and win the national championship. You're coming off of that, and it is January 8th. January 10th, Nick Saban, who I believe is the greatest college football coach in the history of our sport, steps away. And it's just like, I mean, like college football, it's the biggest domino there is in our sport in a coaching sense. You know that. By January 12th, you're the head coach here.
Yeah.
Can you start with the day after the national championship game? What was your reaction when Coach Saban retired, and how quickly did this become a possibility?
Well, I think, we stayed overnight after the championship, and the next day was a travel day, and there's some of these guys that were making their final decisions on that team with whether they're going to move on to the NFL. And so that communication's happening, and you wake up and you got a sick feeling in your stomach just because you came up short. And you wanted the dreams and goals that we all had and the work that had been put in to be realized in the national championship. And so, you're licking your wounds a little bit, working on the next season. And then, I just remember that morning, Wednesday, that the 8th, or that had been the 10th, just realizing like, hey, not like you're feeling sorry for yourself, but you're just like, get up and let's go attack the day and let's make this happen. I specifically remember that. And so a lot of meetings with our players that morning, early afternoon, and that's kind of what that routine was. And of course, the news with Coach Saban hitting, and just, I think, I knew nothing at that time and whether it'd be approached, but I just knew that there's always the names that get thrown out there.
Sure.
And that would be a distraction to Washington and the team I was trying to continue to put together. And, you're already, mid-January by that time. So that was what was in my mind. And of course, then by late that night, the opportunity put in front of you to talk to Greg Byrne, and just really the next 48 hours, just being about that, an interview, and then the opportunity to actually be the head coach, and all the emotions that go along with the decision, and then having to talk to everyone there at Washington, and then get down here quick and be in this very room to talk to the team, which had been going through a lot of things on their own. And so there's a lot of emotions. Probably the one thing that I just wish really could have happened there is that you have a chance to celebrate what was an amazing season. And, things got flipped so quickly. Unfortunately, the players in particular, but also the fan base, just really not being able to celebrate all the success that had gone into that season, or even, the previous two combined.
Sure. I can tell you, like, on the 10th, I remember recording a show right when we heard the news of Coach stepping away. And immediately I thought, all right, if I'm Greg Byrne, there's 3 names on the list, and that's it. And I did a whole show. You can go back and watch it, all you subscribers on YouTube. You were one of those 3 names. And I said on that show, I think Alabama's going to work quickly, and I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be the head coach. And I believed that, very much so. No insight. We hadn't texted. I didn't text Greg. Yeah. That sentiment was born out of the truth that you know how to win. Bear with me for a moment. I believe in what Tiger Woods always talks about. And I watched a documentary. I'm anytime anything on whether it's Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods, I'm watching it, right? This is what I want. Yeah. And he talked about, yes, it was important to be technically proficient at the game of golf, but it was also equally important to be competitively proficient at the game of golf and learn how to win at a young age, which he did to a mark that no one's ever seen. And then that carried over, and now he's obviously who he is, and the greatest golfer of all time. Well, to some extent, I know this is going to sound weird, but you have that type of Tiger Woods winning track record throughout your career. You're 104-12 as a head coach. No one else touches that. So even though you're following the guy, do you have a level of confidence that you know how to win regardless of where you're at?
Yeah, I really appreciate all those comments and that confidence that you have, and then others obviously have had to bring me here, and the other places I've been as well. But I do. I just think that it's, and I don't mean that, and hopefully it doesn't come across in an arrogant way. It's just, you just know that if you pour everything you got into the right things and the right people, and you have the right support around you, that it can be done. And I've been at great places. All those places that have led to that record have been great places with great support, great people, and of course players who you bring in that just want to do something together. And that's what this is all about. That's what Alabama's all about. And Greg Byrne, showing me that vision, showing me how it's been done, and seeing that this can continue on. And this place, Coach Saban's built it up to be something, again, just like many others before him, to where it's greater than one person. And his face and the legacy he leaves and being the best of the best will certainly live on forever. But he's built this place up to be bigger than one person. And, coming in, I'm very careful with that task, with that responsibility. I understand it. And, you're paying attention to all the cues and why things were the way they were, and this decision, and why this routine and schedule was in place. You're paying attention to all that.
Because it was thought about.
There's a reason.
There's a reason,
I promise you, there's a reason. And so, that's what I'm certainly, with my experiences and have been through. I feel confident that they aren't going to be perfect. No one is, but that we can take those experiences and continue to build here. I think one thing with that, in between being a head coach and a head coach, there was 10 years where I was with great other head coaches. Yeah. And I think that
having wild success as a coordinator, which I touched on, at Indiana.
And they all did it different ways. They all did it their ways. They had their strengths, and just taking all that in and kind of adding what fit me and my identity, my way of doing things, ways to make things better. That was really invaluable to, kind of these last 4 or 5 years.
Who'd you talk to for advice? During that really tight window.
Yeah.
Who was it?
I mean, the first and foremost, it was my family. We loved where we were at, and that was the hardest thing. Life was really good at Washington. The people around us, and my daughter is going to college there. The next year she's a senior, just graduated from high school. So a lot of things just perfectly aligned, and that's where it started. But getting that blessing there to look into this and understand more. Was from them. I think there's a couple friends that you just kind of get some perspective on because they know me. And then there's some people in the professional world, and I don't really want to get into those people, but a few that understand what this job is, what being a head coach at the Power 5 level is, just what this is all about. And so reaching out to a few of them that understand what this would feel like, look like. And just really getting their support was important to me.
I'm fascinated. Everyone says you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. Did anybody say hey, I don't know about this?
Yeah, I mean,
was there any cautionary tales?
Those particular people know me, and so they understood it really wasn't about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard that. Not 100 times. I've heard that thousands of times, and so, which I get. I mean, I get where it comes from, but you really never make it about that. You just get in full circle. What I said earlier, you make it about these players, and when you pour into the right things will happen to you. I just believe that.
How involved do you think Coach Saban was, and then what was your first interaction with him like?
How involved was he
in the process to bring you here?
I'm sure, that there was a conversation or two. I'm not aware of those conversations, but, I just know the places I've been, when you pour everything you have into that place, so Washington, Fresno State, and it's going in a good direction, you want it to continue on.
Sure.
I want those programs, the University of Sioux Falls and even Eastern Michigan, Indiana, those places, you want what you did and poured into that to continue on to experience and grow, because it will still come back to, hey, that time in history and past where you did your part, to make it what it is today and into the future. So I'm very confident that Coach, would have had some thoughts because he wants it to continue to be at a high level.
I don't think anybody anywhere, including me, would think that you'd be sitting here unless he gave at least
Sure.
like a nod
Sure.
in that direction.
And our I did reach out to him even before I was offered the job.
Okay.
Officially, just that morning, which I think would have been the Friday morning, and the cool connection there was Don James, and I could really get a sense. This is really the first time Coach and I had ever talked, and man, just hearing him talk about that relationship, what that meant to him, and the things that he learned even during that time. And I know what Don James meant to Washington and where I was at. It was really a cool connector, trying to kind of get that conversation going. But then I heard him talk a lot about just the program and, kind of, getting to know each other just a little bit.
Have you thought about the fact that, he will be around? And not just, around here in Tuscaloosa, but he's going to have a platform and a voice where everyone in America is going to want to know what he thinks about what you're doing. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to be held, we're going to be at a high standard no matter what, whether he was in his role with,
Because that's Bama
the
football.
game day. It's Bama football. And, I think, just another person that has, done it well, that you want to really help make proud of what they've put into it, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make everyone who came before us proud of what happened, and the alumni, of course, the fan base, but all these coaches that have poured everything into making the championships happen here. We want to make them proud, and we want to continue to build this program on to where those that come after us, they got even a better foundation than what was here before I got here.
I'm fascinated because when he did leave, he also had some very pointed comments about where we are in the sport, and it wasn't. I know that people took it as really specific to this locker room, but I think it was part and parcel to what the sport and the structure of the sport has created in every locker room. Having said that, what was your first interaction like with the team when you first got in front of them?
Well, I think a lot of it was I knew how important just to give them a couple nuggets. They weren't going to hear everything because they're just trying to get a gauge of who this person is in front of them. But I think it was positive. I think they felt like there was some energy. Obviously, had just been to a national championship. I tried, I think, connecting with them on what they had just been through, not even with the coaching change, but going to a semifinal game and coming up short, and me coming up short with the team and there at Washington. I think it was something that, over the next couple of weeks at least helped us connect. But I think the guys, pulled a leadership group into a room and talking with them, I think they saw that I'll listen and felt that it was, genuine. And, that's, I think, one of the things I pride myself on is, giving them direction, giving them the organization, the parameters we want this team and vision to look like, but also hearing them out and hearing what's important to them and making it theirs so that they have ownership in it and willing to invest on another level.
It's such a unique situation. I've been racking my brain about, okay, what's the comparable situation here? What does history tell us about this situation? And here's the hard part. This almost never happens. Almost in the history of our sport. It is so rare, and I know the example, and I'll bring it up in a moment, where a coach leaves in his prime, and the program is in its prime. It's in the pocket. They haven't had a downturn. Yeah. He's not walking away after a couple of seasons where maybe the standard wasn't met. They are there. So people say Georgia's the standard. They're 50-4. They're 1-3 against Alabama. Bama is still the SEC champion. They still are the SEC representative in the playoff. Coach Saban has won all of these titles. Every other time that we've seen a move like this in college football, in particular in modern history, it's from within. We're seeing it at Michigan right now with Sharon Moore. We saw it at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day at Ohio State. Even when Harbaugh left Stanford, it was David Shaw. We see examples like this time and time again. What we don't see is a guy that was at Sioux Falls and Fresno and Washington come in from the outside. The last time we've seen this was when Jimmy Johnson stepped away from Miami and Dennis Erickson became the head coach of the Hurricanes. He won a national championship. Tell me the challenges that you face being, quote, an outsider in this program at its peak.
Yeah. I mean, I hear all that. And, I think the situation also that we went through, I mean, I thought about that because I was in it. I call it the fire that we were in those days right after I was announced as the head coach, because on top of the success that was being had and where this program was at, we were also in the middle of January, and it was a contact period where people were on the road, coaches were on the road, most of the staffs were all in place, and our guys were now able to enter the portal. And, I'm glad we went about things the way we did, where we just really focused on our team here. And while you're building the staff, you're just 100% pouring into individual conversations, group conversations, and even just calling team meetings, a couple times a day to update them and communicate that way. I think for me, going back to Fresno State was easy, because I understood the traditions and had seen it for 2 years under Coach Jeff Tedford there, who was an alum himself. And so you kind of had a little bit of the recipe, but Washington was different. That was a new area, new territory. I really hadn't spent much time in Seattle. So embracing everything that the program, was about is very similar to here, embracing it and knowing that, I'm a proud alum of my, University of Sioux Falls. And when you go back there, you want to be greeted. You want that to be home. And just having a sensitivity, I think, to all the greats that have been here and the passion that this, program has with its fan base. It's just, being really sensitive to that. And probably the biggest thing is you just don't know what you don't know sometimes. Sure. And you don't know that tradition that existed and where it came from and how long it's been going on. And so I'm still learning today. But I've asked a lot of questions, and really, when I get a chance to be around an alum from the different eras, just really listening to what they have to say, writing things down, and trying to keep that alive, embracing that while you still do what you've done and doing things the way that you've felt have been successful, and the reasons why we've won over the years. During
that January contact period and portals open, during that time, and then now continuing into and through spring ball, what was your message to your guys, whether individually or as a team?
Yeah, I mean, once we got past those first few days, and I think they kind of felt like, okay, we can give this a chance. We got the staff in place, and just the culture started coming through in, our daily talks and how we did things in practice and the energy we brought. There was some great continuity here in the program, whether it's Dave Ballou with the strength staff or Jeff Allen with the training room, many of the player development staff and some others around the program that really were just so critical to the transition and helping me out, but also helping these guys out. Yeah. And so once we got past that first week or two, I really felt comfortable that, you might lose a guy at some point over those 30 days, but it wasn't just going to fall apart. And we were going to get a chance in spring ball. And I knew once we got into spring ball, again, we'd be okay, because they'd enjoy the way we coached, the way we operated, and the expectations weren't going to fall off. Yeah. The expectations were going to be at a high level. The standard, as we refer to it here, was going to be at a high level. It just might be messaged a different way. And no matter who was going to be here, whether it was even someone from within, that coach is going to still message it their way. Sure. And so, there's only one Coach Saban. There's only one, of every coach at every place. And so the guys have just been amazing. They've embraced everything. I couldn't have asked for anything more.
I think I'm most fascinated in what we, the college football public, what will we see that's different?
That's a really good question. I mean, I know what I want it to look like.
What is that? What do you want it to
be
like?
Where, you can watch the game from even the TV screen and see that there's passion our guys play with, that, all 11 guys are pursuing the ball carrier, and just doing everything they can from an effort standpoint every single play, playing as hard as they can, that there's a physicality that exists because that's just how you win football games. The last couple of years, we had some strong talent in the passing game, right, with Penix and receiving core, and there was a lot made about that. But in the end, when you really look at it, there was battles that we were winning every play at the line of scrimmage,
yes.
Offensively and defensively.
Really good O-line.
And it was the best O-line in the country.
Yes.
And so that emphasis will not drop off. That's how it's happened over 25 years at different places, is because of those things. So, I hope that what also comes out is just, that when a guy has success, he scores a touchdown, he gets a pick, that, the celebration of the others shows that our team is united.
Yeah.
That there's a bond, there's a family, brotherhood, whatever term you want to use, that exists, to where, it's important. These guys really care about each other.
Yeah, I'm a son of a coach. Everyone listening, it kind of knows that, and I, deep down in my bones, believe that teams and people and organizations and programs, you achieve what you emphasize.
Huh.
And if you emphasize being different, then you're going to be different. That just means that you're going to be different. If you emphasize being excellent, then you will be excellent. And I've always felt like the pitfalls of any new coach, whether it's from within, from outside, whether they're coming in for a program that needs a change of direction or not, if what you're doing is just emphasizing being different, it's not going to work. But if you emphasize being excellent, probably going to work.
Tomorrow, when we have our prospects here, about slide 4 or 5 is going to be achieve what you emphasize.
There you go.
Those very words are going to be on the slide. And I will talk about what we're emphasizing and, the standard that we'll emphasize it at. And so, now it's a matter of, do you want to be a part of that?
Yeah.
And, these guys have told me some of the things that they want to continue to emphasize here in this program that I can completely relate to and fit the identity of what I want our team to be.
What did you learn in taking over a team that candidly was filled with a lot of Chris Petersen recruits and having success with him? Now, obviously, you brought some of your players and recruits and transfers in to help that and supplement that. But a lot of your main guys, outside of Michael, were Chris Petersen recruits originally and stayed there, and you got them to stay there and have success. Dennis Erickson won with guys that he didn't recruit at Miami. I'm fascinated in this idea of how you go about winning over those guys that committed to something, and they saw a slideshow at one point with someone else selling them that slideshow, and now you have to win them, not just on your side, but towards the culture for the team.
Yeah,
you've been successful in doing that.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I think fortunately, there's some similarities again with the standard that those guys were recruited to,
right.
And the same thing exists here with the standard of what guys wanted when they came here to play for Coach Saban, and that matched what is important to my recipe for success. And so continuity is a huge part of success, and you can bring in some portal guys, as you mentioned, that can really put you over the top. It might be to fill in some gaps, even in our case this year where a guy or two left, and we needed to fill in those areas with some experience. But I think in the end, the continuity of a coaching staff, which we were able to have, and I've had, at multiple places, and here that's going to be important for the future. But the continuity of the players and keeping the guys that are your core, and just it was really easy to connect here because the standard and the things that they were recruited to here, although a lot of it, of course, was playing for Coach Saban, they still understand that Alabama football has these core values, this identity to it, and it matched what I was saying, and they could tell it was heartfelt and really who I am. And so that continuity is important for our future, just like it was the last 2 years.
One of the assistants that you're not going to have in terms of continuity of staff is Coach Grubb, Ryan Grubb, who's been with you, I believe, 12 years.
At least.
At least, right? And so he moves on, gets a great opportunity, obviously, in the National Football League. But how do you feel like that's going to impact you?
Oh, man, I'm just so happy for him because it goes back to 2000, and even before 2007, but that was the first year we coached together, and just that journey. And there were some couple of years that we were away from each other, but just seeing him grow, seeing him work so hard to realize this opportunity, it's special, and I want those opportunities for coaches that are with me, because that's how I got to this spot too. Is people, that were there to support me and help me grow. But, he certainly was an important part. But fortunately, there's, again, continuity with Nick Saban, who this is our 4th year together. And you're talking about a extremely intelligent coach, and he and Ryan Grubb together, along with Jamarcus Shepard, who's my co-offensive coordinator, and getting to him as well here. Those guys just sitting in a room together over the last 2 years, and really being aligned. You lose a piece of that, but then you bring other pieces in that can continue to add to what our system, what our identity is offensively. And so I'm so happy for him, but I'm very confident in who we have coming in. I've been around them. It's not like you're just pulling someone from a different program that you've never been with. I know who they are, what type of people they are, the energy, the effort that they put into it, the way they build relationships. I think you can see very quickly just in the retention of 4 quarterbacks in our room that are high-level guys that Nick Saban is that guy who can connect with them as well.
I think it's fascinating because I believe prisoner of the moment is a great term that you can apply to basically every fan. Their rearview mirror is not very long. And so they see Michael Penix and Rome Odunze in your passing game from a year ago, and they think to themselves, well, does that mean he's going to try to do that with Jalen Milroe? And what they don't understand is that you've got a history of offensive football that doesn't always look like what Washington looked like last year.
Right.
And, now granted, you've been very successful throwing the football and doing things a certain way. But, I'm fascinated to get your insight on just like how you feel like you can help further Jalen Milroe into what a lot of us think can be a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jalen, but it's also the guys around him. And I think our system, when you've done it for 25 years and you've adjusted to the guys, especially when you're at a smaller college level, the FCS level, Southern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, you're adjusting to the guys that you have. And, the offensive volume of different things you've done, of course, it starts with your quarterback. I remember running G option back in 2000, 2001, and 2002 a little bit,
With Jalen, you might dip back into that bag.
I don't know how Jalen feel about that right now, but we were running it, and the quarterback had 25 carries a game sometimes, and so, and then the next. I remember years after that, it was a little bit more. I don't want to call it fun and gun because I don't want that identity, but there was a little more passing.
Yeah.
And I know you just adjust to your personnel, and so that's all built within. Again, I got smart people that I can work with on that offensive staff, and got a lot of like Brian Ellis as a coordinator as well, coming from Georgia Southern, who can see things from a quarterback standpoint. And so us all being in a room, we can make sure we're really guiding, not have too many voices in Jalen's ear, but also just making sure we're making good decisions and continue to formulate a plan around him, but also the other personnel that he has surrounding him as well.
So this conference in so many ways has been the standard in college football for years and years and years, winning national championship after national championship. Last year was a bit of an anomaly where you saw the Pac-12 and the Big Ten facing off for the national championship. Just haven't seen that happen in a long time. So this, in a lot of ways, is the standard. And the SEC has been the best conference in America. And, I'm sure that the conference still believes that that's what they're going to go, even, with the power in the Big Ten and what's happened there. Now, having said that, those not in this conference, like really in this conference, we can peek behind the curtain, roll our eyes a little bit when we hear it just means more. So now here you are from the outside, and now you're in it. So, Coach, does it just mean more down here?
Yeah, it's pretty important. And now being in it, yes, I got to say that, right? And but it is. It's pretty fun to experience, And when you really think about, the stadium, 100,000 plus, and where all these people are coming to, and what their Saturdays or what their whole weekends look like, and how it surrounds football. It's pretty amazing. I saw it in 8A game, 72,000 for a spring game, and the excitement leading up to it. It wasn't just a one-day thing. It was up to an all-week thing, but especially the whole weekend, And it's really cool. And wherever you go, it's not just in Tuscaloosa, but it's around the state and beyond. It's Roll Tide. It's everywhere you go. Of course, relating to Alabama, but it's also just a passion for football that exists. And so it's exciting to be here. The tradition of the conference certainly is well known. Absolutely. And it's great to be a part of it.
Got in my Uber last night, and the driver looks at me and is like, "What are you doing down here?" Hey, man. I'm looking forward to you being here, and then obviously that game at Wisconsin. We'll have you there when you travel to Madison. 11 a.m. Central, by the way, so we'll get you home early.
We're staying in our time zone. So
I appreciate you so much, man.
You bet. Thank you.